Hey guys, and welcome to a showdown, a tournament showdown in fact, between Extreme Meme Team's very own Ronin, in charge of the Wood Elves, up against the legendary and fearsome Hadri's and his Bretonnian forces. A matchup which has stereotypically been one of the, considered for quite a long time, Wood Elves' worst matchup. In my opinion, it's probably their second worst matchup behind Dwarfs, but either way, it's got certainly quite a big stigma behind it. So let's see if Ronin can pull one out of the bag here. He's gone for a very traditional Wood Elf build for this matchup, and it is the lovely bromance between the Way Watchers, of who we have 3 in the front lines, deadly archers, possibly the best missile unit in the entire game, maybe not cost-wise, but certainly of their effectiveness, and their bromance between their Wild Riders bros. Looks like we have 3 units of these bad boys who are indeed going to be shielded, or at least one unit is going to be shielded, which I think is definitely worthwhile cost-wise. Does give these guys a silver shield. Now these badass Wild Riders are going to be the first line of defense for the Way Watchers to fall back to. Looks like they're being escorted as well by a Glade Lady, of course, coming in with arrows of Kurnos as well as the prey of enough Rama. So you net down enemy knights, fall back behind the Wild Riders who absorb that first charge by going head to head with the enemy cav. And then for the secondary backup line, we have a ton of Eternal Guard dotted all the way along. Cheap, cheerful, and pretty decent up against all peasant mobs and cavalry alike. And then we have double War Dancers with Azrai Spears, probably the most badass looking ladies in the Warhammer universe, going to be coming in with that glorious anti-large. We also have a Spell Singer of Life in the background here, with simple Earth Blood to heal up blobs of infantry and cavalry. Now we can see the arrows of Kurnos is flying through the air here, and the Bretonnian forces, of course, are led by the mighty peasant mobs, the backbone of Bretonnia's economy, and their leading forces. Once again, very cheap, very unhappy and not particularly cheerful, but here to absorb arrow fire and to basically be walking meat shields. For the rest of the force, it looks like we have Peasant Bowmen, which are very good and cost-effective up against the very expensive yet squishy Wood Elf Archer line, and then we have a ton of cavalry. Grail Knights mixed in with Knights Errant, dotted all the way along the nut line. Grail Knights are certainly going to be a pain, anti-large as well, gives some good utility up against any Tree Man, Death Blobs, and the Night-like. We also have Knights of the Realm here, protecting the Fey Enchantress, coming in with Regrowth, Shield of Thorns, and Earthblood. Up in the skies, we have double Paladin, which can certainly be very effective here. 2 damage-dealing heroes who can chase down enemy characters with deadly efficiency and do some pretty nice sniping. And with good micro, they should be able to avoid the Way Watchers, although, of course, Way Watchers do have Stalk here, so they are going to be sneaking in and trying to take some pot shots. Looks like we have 1 arrow flying through the skies, and the Glade Lady's animation on her shots, they almost always hit and track. Now over on the right hand side, we can see some Wild Riders trying to get some free value down here by hammering in the peasant mob, but their peasant brethren launching fire arrows into the rear of these Wild Riders, meaning their shields aren't going to do anything for them here, and they're taking a pretty large amount of damage, and that's kind of the game for the Bretonnian forces here. Yes, they technically did more damage to the peasant mobs, but they're so goddamn cheap. The Wild Riders certainly are more useful for the Wood Elf forces. So in comes the first important volleys of the game here. A launch of shots going into the Grail Knights, but a lovely Shield of Thorns and Earthblood to counteract that. Now something Ronin does, and I've noticed he does this a lot with his Wood Elf play, he's going to be bouncing between targets, always making it hard to dodge and kind of predict where he's going to shoot you next. Grail Knights do get prey of enough armoured here as well. That minus 22% missile resistance is really going to hurt them, but it looks like we have a fat regrowth going to be coming in on those guys, as all the Knights do start to pour in here. And in response, we are going to see the Wild Riders actually fall back here and allow the Eternal Guard to take the initial brunt. Way Watchers just barely managing to escape there. I'm sure we're going to see the counterattack soon of Wild Riders, who actually kind of just chill here and hop in and help out the Eternal Guard. And nice Earthblood as well, keeping these troops quite healthy. Some War Dancers are getting a little over-eager here and pushing in, but once again it isn't a Knight, so it's all good. And over on the right-hand flank, a combination of Wild Riders and Eternal Guard managed to hammer down the Knights Errant and force them from the field, but the deadly fire arrows absolutely shredding these Wild Riders as more Grail Knights do indeed come in. You can see the Waywatchers have managed to get to relatively safe here, pulling back behind Eternal Guard, and wherever Knights do break through, there's always a unit of Wild Riders ready to pounce, and they have huge charge bonus, allowing them to punch above their pay grade here, and shattering some of these glorious Knights, as the arrows continue to rain in from both forces here, and another unit of Knights of the Realm here, pinned in by a glorious Wild Rider charge, slowly gets dragged down by Eternal Guard and Waywatcher fire. However, it looks like some of the Bretonnian forces have got into the back here, into that soft underbelly of the Wood Elf force. Ground Knights going toe-to-toe with Waywatchers, who should be able to crossfire and focus fire them down at least. As we have Eternal Guard chasing down Ground Knights as well, as Wild Riders kind of darting back and forth. Looks like they've just broken off some peasant mobs before going on a glorious suicidal charge into the Ground Knights to pin these guys in and allow the War Dancers to come into the rear and drag down these Holy Knights. So very brave Wild Rider play so far. Looks like the Waywatchers have been pretty heavily hammered here though. One unit are down to about a third health, but still 25 models is a decent amount of firepower still left in them. They do manage to break off one unit of Ground Knights with some glorious crossfire. However, the other unit is once again trying to push into the back line, and there's still double Paladin, which is certainly some very scary stuff, as well as a huge amount of ammunition left on these peasant bowmen. Over in the distance here, we do have Eternal Guard slowly surrounding the Fate Enchantress, and she's, relatively tanky, but she's still a mage, and these guys will do pretty decent, consistent damage to her if she does remain in combat too long, but it looks like she's planning on falling back there. So if we have a little look on the kind of key units here, which of course is, as always with the Wood Elves, the Waywatchers, they've managed to escape once more. Paladin has been pinned in by the War Dancers, who are definitely quick here. And looks like the Paladin has managed to be assassinated pretty much, or at least forced off the field, as his other Paladin brother is as well. Eternal Guard and War Dancers completely surrounding these guys, and they're trying to stop them from escaping here. There is now a gap for these Wild Riders to exploit if they want to pop into the Peasant Bowmen, but again, they do suffer the wrath then of the skirmish fire if they do push forward. So instead, they're going to hop on the peasant mobs, try and clean up this back line, and as long as the Waywatchers survive, they'll easily be able to outshoot the peasant bowmen. Fair Enchantress unfortunately looks like she has shattered there, as the backbone of the Bretonnian forces, its knights and heroes, have gone down here. That is going to be army losses, and a very well played victory there for the Wood Elves. Still a Pyrrhic victory nonetheless. So very well played to both these guys. This was played in a tournament recently on Valkanos's channel. Was some super awesome stuff. I actually took part in it as well and went up against Ronan, and his game against Hadri's were pretty crazy indeed. As for the play here, it was kind of a traditional way that Wood Elves actually take on this matchup. I'm a bit bigger of a fan recently of going for a more mixed style build up against the Bretonnians. I don't think this matchup is quite as one-sided as people make it out to be, but it is certainly in Bretonnia's favour. So very well played to Ronan, and some pretty crazy micro. Imagine to time those Waywatchers' escape pretty much inch perfectly, charging with those Wild Riders and getting behind that solid spear wall. As for Hadri's, he did most things really well, managed to push into the back line multiple times, but his knights just kept breaking and couldn't quite shut down those Waywatchers for good, despite doing decent damage overall and make it an incredibly tight game. So two true champions here and a really good watch overall. Hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, feel free to give the video a big old thumbs up and subscribing to the channel. And yeah, awesome stuff. If you feel like getting a replay up on the channel, feel free to join my Discord. There is a link in the description down below, as well as a few other links to how you can support the channel. Alright guys, until next time, peace, and as always, stay awesome.